Hello, and welcome to the episode. Oh, Todd Talk and Todd Talks. People, listen. I am what I am, Zeke. No need to throw a friggin' parade. Hopefully. I mean, if you want to throw me a parade, I'm just saying. So today, we're talking about the Champions Poll Part 2. I keep saying poll. It's poll, ballot, whatever you want to call it. The fan-voted episode, number 2, by us, the champions. And it is Cole McGrath from Infamous versus Alex Mercer from Prototype. A battle of the 2009s. Yeah, 2009 Cole, they want their video games back. Actually, I know many people probably would want both Prototype 3 and a true Infamous 3, but that's another story entirely. Rest in peace, X-Play. Thank you for doing a good piece on Prototype. Anyway, seriously, I miss G4. But this match is interesting just because even Death Battle is like, why do people want this matchup? And there actually are a lot of similarities between Prototype and Infamous, between how the characters go, the good and bad natures that they could do or fight against, and their characters they meet, the people who eventually take their lives, spoilers, and more. So this is going to be interesting, and even right now, as I'm about to make this preview video for you, there's still a debate about who actually wins this fight, because I thought for sure it was going one way. Then I was told by the Death Battle Discord it was going another way. And now after the previews, people are like, are we sure? So I might actually lose this one, and I'm not happy about that. I mean, it was bad enough I was doing Billcord, and I knew I had to deal with reality warpers, but now no one can decide like what anything means. So I think I have an answer. I'm going to stick with it. We'll see how right I am, okay? So first we start with Cole McGrath, who was just a regular guy. Like, seriously, he even admitted himself that he was someone you would just pass by on the street and never even notice. He grew up in Numere. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Mornay, or however you say it. And eventually moved to Empire City, where he became a bike courier for the simple reason of ticking off his parents. No, seriously, he dropped out of school because of some reasons, and they became a bike courier because he knew his parents would be disappointed in him. And they were. Eventually, during one of these deliveries as a courier, he was given the wrong address and then called by the person he was supposed to deliver the package to open it. Gee, I wonder what could possibly go wrong. Sure enough, this was the Ray Sphere, and the moment Cole opened it up, it blew up and infused Empire City with a massive sphere of energy, and it killed a lot of people. Like, we're talking thousands upon thousands of people, and Cole was right in the center of it, and he died. Not really. End of game. But he did survive, but not without consequences, because he became an electrokinetic, also known as a conduit. And these conduits are beings of basically supernatural natures, or in this case, elemental natures. They can have electricity powers, they can have telekinesis, they can ice powers, napalm powers, anything you can think of, they could, and in terms of an elemental sense, I suppose, they can do. And yes, the mind powers are an element, because that's human element. But as Empire City continued to devolve into madness, the government put on a quarantine. And this trapped Cole, his buddy Zeke, his girlfriend Trish, and many others within the city, and having to deal with the fallout from the Ray Sphere. Now, at first, and this absolutely has to be said, Cole could only do so much with his powers. He's like, you think, oh, he's like Kaminari from My Hero Academia, or he's like Raiden with like epic electricity powers. Yes, but he also had to like grow his powers, and we'll get to that. But over time, Cole, okay, at first his best friend Zeke actually tried to get him to do like an electricity service where he would charge people like phones and televisions for food. I appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit, Zeke, but can you really not see the problems with that? Just saying. Anyway, but eventually Cole decided, you know what, I can use these powers for good. Now, here's another thing we gotta clarify. In Infamous, you can choose to be a good guy or a bad guy, and this applies to both games. Your choices affect the ending. Now, Death Battle has already specifically stated that they are going to focus on the canon version of Cole McGrath, which is the good karma path. And that is why in the preview they mentioned that Cole gets ice powers, not napalm powers. So, because that was a bad karma rap. Okay. So, as he starts trying to figure out what to do just to not just survive, but to help out the people of Empire City, he starts getting pulled in all sorts of different directions, including by an FBI agent named Moyo, a mysterious man named John White, who is black, just like I am Todd Black, but I am white. Names. I actually have a lot of people with colored last names. It's hilarious. Brown, white, gray, redwood, etc., etc. But he learned to develop his powers more and had to constantly face the various conduits that were within Empire City, not the least of which was Kessler. Yeah, if you know, you know. But Kessler was pulling the strings behind Cole the whole time, forcing him to do incredible things to try and survive or save his friends, or in one case with Trish, not save his friends. And this doesn't even talk about guys like Alden, who was an incredibly powerful telepath and psychokinetic, like telekinetic. But he had to face all these groups while trying to keep himself in control. Now, this is where things get really, really trippy, because as we find out at the end of the first game, there were two that he was in. At the end of the first game, we find out that Kessler wasn't just a master manipulator. He's from the future. Yeah, you see, in the future, apparently there is an entity called the Beast, and the Beast threatened the entire world, and only Cole McGrath could stop it. But Cole McGrath did not stop it, and so a certain someone went back in time to restart events, but in a different way, to give Cole McGrath the chance to defeat the Beast. That certain someone was Kessler, a.k.a. the future version of Cole McGrath. Oh my gosh! Yes, Cole, present tense, beat Cole, future tense, all in an attempt to get stronger so that he could defeat the Beast. And that was the end of the first Infamous game. Okay? Going into Infamous 2, and yes, there was the comic bridge where Moyo gets killed and he had to defeat other conduits like David, and etc., etc. It was actually a lot more lore than I thought there would be. Prototype was much less on the lore. Anyway, heading into Prototype 2, the Beast actually shows up a bit ahead of schedule. Oops. And Cole now has to work with Zeke, Agent Kuo, Nyx, and certain others in New Moraine or how do you say the city's name, and to try and stop the Beast from just destroying everything. Like, the Beast in a matter of minutes was able to destroy like the entirety of Empire City. That's bad. So Cole, via entities called blast spheres throughout Infamous 2, would power him up and give him new abilities. Not the ice abilities, that was something else for you. A transfer sphere, which he got from Agent Kuo, who was also a conduit. But he powered himself up. He fought all sorts of enemies, not the least of which were just conduits and monster conduits, like Bertrand, who was a human purist, who was actually a conduit. Because of course he was. Dang racists. It's true. He hated conduits and they're a race. So after defeating all these characters and so on and so forth, Cole had one last choice to make. There was a special item known as the RFI, and basically what it would do is that after he got all the blast spheres and unlocked as much of his powers as could, the RFI would crank up his powers to like 1,000, right? Give him full access to his abilities, and only in that form could he stop the Beast, which technically wasn't trying to destroy the planet, but actually create more conduits, which were immune to a plague that was in the world that was also caused by the race here. Don't ask. And thus Cole had a choice. He could either keep or basically help the Beast and create a conduit-filled world, or he could kill the Beast and die. It would literally require everything he had to kill the Beast and save the general population of humanity. So again, this is good karma, bad karma. And in good karma ending, he does indeed activate the RFI. He tanks everything the Beast can throw against him, and he dies saving everyone while also killing, as terrifying as and terrible as it sounds, killing all the conduits that were already in the world and conduit potential people. So this was literally a case of, like, sacrifice thousands to save millions. It was that kind of thing. And in the good ending, Cole is revered as a hero and is honored by many, even though just as many paid him as a terrorist and a monster and whatever. But those who actually know, and many in the population, agree that what he did saved humanity, even though ironically it didn't get rid of the conduits, because if you remember Infamous' second son, they were still out there. But his memory lives on. And it's technically possible that he's still alive, because after he was given basically a Viking funeral, a lightning bolt shot down from the sky, blew up the boat, and a question mark in the clouds was formed. Now, in terms of his powers, it's basically everything you can think of with electricity. He can shoot, lightning bolts, arced lightning bolts. He can actually drain electricity from your body and kill you while also recharging himself and healing himself. He has unnatural super strength, durability, agility, thanks to his conduit nature. Not just the lightning, the conduit nature has amped up his skills to an incredible level. His parkour ability was something he actually had pre-blast, but it also got enhanced by his conduit nature. He can create shields, as noted in the preview, which can turn matter into energy somehow. And he can actually create like electric grenades that can detonate on people or detonate after a certain amount of time. He can create thunderstorms. Now, technically, this was sort of lost in the second game, but it said that he could still do it. He can create thunderstorms, summon lightning from the sky, and actually create a hurricane. Oh, wow. I bet you on the East Coast he'd be very infamous. I regret nothing. But yeah, he can. Then he has certain modes, if you will, that can allow him to generate plenty of energy just on his own. So he doesn't need to, say, drain various electrical objects, which is something he has had to do in the past. Technically, one of his biggest weaknesses is that he can store incredible amount of electricity, but he is not exactly able to generate it on his own, unlike, say, like a Raiden, a Black Lightning, and so on and so forth. He has to continually, depending on how much he puts into his attacks, drain from various places or people so that he can keep doing it. If he runs out of electricity, he's basically relying on his superhuman abilities, which will only get him so far. Plus, as an electrical person, water is bad. Now, it has to be a big body of water. He can drink, water or other liquids, and that won't affect him. But he can't be in the ocean, or he'll short circuit, which would kill him. And I was actually shown it as possible in various cutscenes between the two games. Let's see what else. Also, he does have a limit, and obviously he can die because he overloaded himself at the end of Infamous 2. But it still takes a lot to kill him. I mean, he survived the ray sphere explosion at the first game, and he got way more powerful after that. And that thing was enough to kill thousands of people, destroy a lot of Empire City, make a massive crater and more, and he was right in the center of it. So when you compare where he was at the beginning of the literally first cutscene to the end of the game where he died, it's very hard to take down Cole McGrath. Shocking. I know. I still forget nothing. Next up, we have Alex Mercer. This one is yet another very complicated story, but I'll do my best. This all starts in New York City, where a company named Genentech was trying to create a virus. I'm not going to get into the full thing with the blacklight. All right, I'm not. It's just it's too much. But they were creating a virus called the Blacklight, and there was a certain scientist who feared that the government who was helping fund the project would come after him, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So in the midst of trying to get away from this, for the soldier trying to kill him, he threw down a vial he had of blacklight that he kept as insurance to basically kickstart a viral pandemic within Manhattan. And through this comes our very own Alex Mercer. When Alex awakes from the slab he is on after being shot by soldiers, He's fine. Totally fine. But he has no idea who he is, where he is, or what the heck is going on. As he tries to figure it out, he realizes like that the soldiers are trying to kill him, that he has powers that can't be explained, and so on and so forth. He eventually is able to use the virus within his body to manipulate his limbs and unlock incredible abilities. He is the original prototype. And that was bad for just about anyone who came across his way, because he would find out, he can actually absorb people, as we saw in the preview, absorb people and take their memories, their skills, and what have you, all because of what this virus can do. And that made him incredibly powerful, incredibly deadly, and as time went on, an accumulation effect of sorts, because he has like the memories and skills of various soldiers. He can and the more he absorbs, the more biomass that is within his body, and that actually makes him stronger. So again, an accumulation effect. The more he absorbs, the stronger he can become. But more importantly than that was that he was trying to figure out who he was and what was going on with the Blacklight virus and everything with Gentech, the military, and whatever. And when he went to find his sister, Dana, I believe it was, they worked together to try and figure out what was going on with this conspiracy, because there was a lot going on. And I'm talking like a decades-long conspiracy involving the military, various science corporations, and so on and so forth. And this is where one of the big twists comes in. Because, as we would find out, Alex Mercer's real identity is Alex Mercer. Confused? I'll explain. See, I forgot one title at the end. His name is actually Dr. Alex Mercer. He was a scientist for Gentech. You see where I'm going with this, right? Yes. The scientist that had the Blacklight as insurance and tried to get away from the soldiers, who threw down the vial and spread the virus out throughout New York, that was Alex. And when he died by the soldiers shooting him, easy for me to say, the virus absorbed his body, and not unlike Swamp Thing, DC reference, the virus thought it was Alex Mercer. Not unlike the Swamp Thing, the Green, made Swamp Thing think he was Alec Holland once upon a time. But that, much like with Swamp Thing, that wasn't the case. It was actually a fusion of the virus and the remains of Alex Mercer, and because of how the virus absorbs memories, it thought that it was Dr. Alex Mercer, but it wasn't the case. Now, after this revelation, Alex did its best, because it's technically not a gender, its best to stop the conspiracy, take down the military, and try and prevent a further outbreak of the virus, even stopping a nuke. Even stopping a nuke from blowing up the city and preventing and killing everyone within it. And this too is where things get a bit complicated, because whereas Cole tried his best after the events of his first game to be the hero, remember Cannon is good MacGrath, to be the hero that the world needed, or at least the city needed, Alex took a much different turn. After the events of the first game, which he did survive that nuclear blast, Alex kind of lost it, because Alex soon realized that humanity kind of sucks. Gee, I wonder where they got that idea from. But yeah, in its mind, humanity was beyond redemption. It was full flawed people, societies, corruption, which is not inaccurate to a certain extent. It's not inaccurate, and it deserved to burn, or more accurately, it deserved to die at his hand, and then he would create a better world via better beings through the infection. So he actually set off a second Blacklight infection in the original spot where it got set off in Penn Station. And this gave rise to James Heller, who was infected and became the second prototype, and swore revenge against Alex Mercer for the death of his family, who technically was not dead in full, And the whole other game came about of this. Alex was the main antagonist now. He wasn't the one he controlled. He was the one he wanted to kill. And sure enough, at the end of the game, Alex was beaten and absorbed by James Heller. And that's it. No, really, because there was supposed to be a third prototype, but because of various issues, go watch the X-Play video from the G4 reboot. It was actually really telling. But various decisions led to Prototype 3 not happening, and thus Alex technically could still be alive. It was stated that at the ending, even though James Heller absorbed Alex Mercer, he could still be alive. So, yeah. But the problem here is that in terms of death battle, Alex is just a monster in every sense of the word. He can manipulate his limbs to become whatever he wants, whether it's blades, claws. He can actually create a biomass armor of himself that restricts his mobility but gives him much higher durability. And as noted, because of the accumulation effect, the more people that Alex absorbs, he gets stronger. And he absorbed a lot of people in the first game alone. Then he had the second game, and you have to wonder just how strong he actually is. It's even stated in multiple wikis that I found that he actually has potentially limitless strength. Potentially limitless. That would be impressive. That would be most impressive. Whether that's actually true is obviously up to interpretation. As for speed, he can. The wiki I found said that he could rival just about any vehicle on the planet and could move up to over 500 miles per hour. Again, not sure how accurate that is. Wikis have been wrong before. Remember the Kill Wolf video? They said he was only up to like a couple hundred miles per hour, and then Death Battle said no, he's actually as fast as lightning. So, yeah. Now, as for weaknesses, and this is important here. I forgot one more thing. Alex, especially in Prototype 2, can actually create monsters from the biomass that he has. And they can be incredibly powerful. Not as strong, never as strong as Alex, but they can be incredibly powerful. And that's what Heller had to go through just to get to Alex at the end. Now, in terms of weaknesses, he doesn't have, like, what's called outright weaknesses, because as the virus is in him, he can heal from just about anything. Just about. Remember, he did almost die from the nuclear blast, where he was literally a puddle on a beach, and then a crow came along to try and eat him, and then he absorbed the crow, and he was able to retake human form. And then James Heller was able to beat him, so there is a limit. It's specifically stated that the prototypes can take damage, and if they take too much, they can't heal. They can't regenerate. But that takes a lot. That takes a lot to do. Plus, there's also a question of will he ever run out of biomass? And this is something that the Discord was debating right before I made my preview video. Was that, can he run out of biomass? Can he totally generate his own? I don't think he can, because if that was the case, he wouldn't have probably lost to Heller. So it's complicated, and that just makes him even harder to kill, because it took another prototype to take him down. Nothing humanity could throw at him, short of a nuke, could kill him. And you could argue possibly that a nuke wouldn't work on Prototype 2 version of Alex, because he got even stronger at that point, because he just didn't give a crap anymore, So, he might not be the original hero or the benchmark, but, he's a good prototype. I still regret nothing. Alright, so who wins between Alex and Cole? This is tough, because as many people have fairly noted, this is technically a Carnage Lucy situation. Carnage could absolutely have killed Lucy, but the question was, could Carnage touch Lucy in order to infect her with the symbiote? And this is the question with Alex and Cole, because Alex can absolutely kill Cole if he can infect him. And that's another thing. We don't know if Alex can actually infect Cole McGrath, because the debate is whether Cole's cells, which are infused with electricity because of his conduit fusion that he has undergone, can he straight up infect him? We don't know, and this is technically would be the realm of fan fiction, because you could argue that the electricity, which has resisted certain pathological things in the past, would resist it, not unlike how Heller resisted Alex trying to absorb him. And Alex eventually overcame a parasite that was able to nullify his powers. At least that's how I interpreted it. So if we take the infection off of the table, because there are multiple arguments to why Cole could resist it, not the least of which is that Cole has a shield. Cole has an electrical shield, which, as the preview said and blew Wiz's mind with, the shield can convert matter into energy. And that alone would mean that Alex trying to use his viral powers on MacGrath in any of its forms would just give Cole more power. So that's a problem. Now but then the counter to that is, can Cole kill Alex? Most people agree he could, because while the I'll say prototypes in this case, are resistant to electricity, they are not immune. And it is specifically stated that electricity can lock up Alex's body. And that was at a certain voltage. And it's also said in the wiki site I found that electricity can harm Alex if they're at a high enough voltage. And high voltage, is exactly what Cole McGrath is about. I mean, seriously. His thing is, I am a walking lightning bolt. And he can summon lightning bolts from the sky. And natural lightning is so much more powerful than you might expect. I mean, we're talking millions upon millions of volts. Anything that humanity can create with electronics or electrical generators, it pales in the power of natural lightning. And Alex has used that Cole has used that natural lightning on command to kill beings like David and the Beast and more. All right, and we have to take into consideration I'm getting things mixed up. Cole has multiple modes to enhance his power, and while you could argue that he would not get the RFI because it would kill him, he would still be alive long enough to kill Alex, which would be an all might guy situation, which Death Battle has done in the past. So, given the shield's protection, potential natural protection from the virus, just massive amount of overwhelming electrical power, you could very easily argue that Cole McGrath will win. Now, the real question here is speed, because if Alex can infect him quicker than Cole can get the shield up, that's a problem. And as we saw in the preview, Alex can apparently absorb and understand memories in 5 nanoseconds. Is Cole faster than that? That is the huge debate right now in the Death Battle Discord. Maybe. We know that Cole can dodge natural lightning, which is infinitely impressive. And there's arguments that and that was in the first game, so he got faster since then because of the blast spheres. So you could argue that he is well faster than natural lightning. And he was dodging lightning blasts up close at the time, so that's even faster than you're thinking. And there are debates about whether Cole McGrath is somehow faster than light. I don't know if that's actually true. So it's tricky. But you could also argue if Cole has a natural immunity of sorts to the virus because of his electricity in his genes, which is something, as many people point out, is what conduits are about. It's about the genes and how strong they are compared to normal humans. You could argue that it wouldn't matter if if Alex is faster, because Cole can just resist. And if Cole can just resist, it's a matter of who takes more damage first. And while Alex Mercer has plenty of long-range options via his tentacles from the virus, Cole can attack from much longer distances. He can summon a freaking hurricane and just attack with natural lightning. So I'm going to go with Cole McGrath to win this death battle. Please let me be right. Please let me be right. We'll see. So with that, I'm ending this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win between Cole McGrath and Alex Mercer? And how epic do you think this 3D fight is going to be? The preview is up now if you want to go see it, or if you're a champion. Definitely go check it out and let me know in the comments below. So, thanks for watching. It means I know you were listening, and I'll see you around.